Professor Yomi Fawehinmi is a policy expert and a Nigerian academic resident in Ontario, Canada. He joins me now for this development. Thank you very much for giving us your time. The worst of the worst categorization of Nigerians in this latest deportation drive. Your general thoughts about the reasons given and the status of those who are deported.
Okay, thank you very much. It's very unfortunate that we have some Nigerians that make the list. We know that the government of the U.S. has been more focused on dealing with these questions about immigration, especially what they believe it's people that are wrongly immigrated to the U.S. or committed crimes or had their visas expired or revoked or asylum claims. And then you now have a case that in addition to that, you also have some people who are accused for various crimes, including felonies and all, as you listed, Nigerians make the list. It's unfortunate because it becomes a reputational issue for the rest of the hardworking Nigerians. To be described as the worst of the worst is a very unfortunate thing. It's bad enough for you to be called to be bad. It's worse for them to say that you are worse than for you now to be described as worst of the worst. And then we have over 70 Nigerians in that list. It doesn't do well. It's also going to likely affect the questions about visas that Nigerians will grant, because now they have more basis to deny more Nigerians visas. So it's really unfortunate and something that we should all be concerned about. Also, as a parent, I'm concerned about looking at the faces of this, because these individuals come from various families. They are parents back home in Nigeria, perhaps even the U.S. parents, family members, old schoolmates. They can remember these people. They remember the love they have for them. And then for you to start to see them in the pages of newspapers and global media as criminals, it's not something that's going to make those families very happy. So it's very unfortunate and very sad.
What should be the Nigerian government response to these generic description of individuals who are being moved from America to back home for whatever reason?
I think there should be two fronts. The first is a question of what will the Nigerian government do in terms of that diplomacy with the U.S. We already are not doing so well. Things are better in the recent past. We have an ambassador that has been appointed now, though all the credence process has not been completed. I wish the president took these decisions much earlier. We need to deliberately, of course, we also know that there have been some signatures and some lobbying organization coming on board. I think we need to heighten and make things faster to ensure that Nigeria and Nigerians don't have a backlash as a result of this. All the diplomatic conversations, maybe even direct negotiations and conversation with Homeland Security, with ICE agents. Just to know, okay, so what's happening? We are not all like this. That clarity is important. The other side of it is that when these people get deported and are brought back to Nigeria, I really don't know what the government will do about them. Now, there's NAPTIP, there's all these government agencies that has responsibility in terms of people in diaspora. But when people get repatriated because of crime committed, we need to have a protocol to how to manage that. Because if they have been described as the worst, do you just release them to the environment in Lagos or in Kaduna or in Enugu?
Well, but they are not all the worst of the worst, like you've clearly stated. Some of them are for immigration violations, not necessarily that they committed a crime.
Yeah, but the problem is that they are coming at a time when the tagline is the worst of the worst. And, that's very unfortunate thing about these things. The person that had a denial of the asylum claim, for example, has not necessarily committed any crime, because the United Nations allow him to ask for asylum. The United Nations also allows the country to deny it. But because everybody is now put in the same bucket, that becomes a label. So think about it: somebody who comes because his asylum was denied and he has to return with this set. When he comes back, there is that label, there is that toga, there is that impression. People get to realize this person is back to Nigeria, for example, and they understand the people that he came alongside with. It's important, those people's, it will affect them. So we need two responses: the ones that have clear criminal indictments and judgments, we need to have a response to that. The ones that are just questions of denial, we also need to have a separate response to them. But all of them needs should be treated properly by the Nigerian state.
Let's look at the broader implications for not just for Nigerians, but for the American society. We know that Nigerians constitute a huge number of the workforce there. And current information is that some of them are going into hiding as a result of the immigration work that Trump is doing. In your thinking, how are employers and HR departments navigating this challenge of absenteeism, necessitated by those who are hiding from immigration and the disruption this is causing to the workforce?
A great question and very, very important question. Please note, the question about hiding is not just a workplace issue. There are also people not going to classes. Based on the report we have seen, there are students not attending classes. There are people that are just generally afraid and are not leaving their house. So beyond the workplace issue, there's also the mental health situation where somebody is hiding because he's afraid. Now, the question of those that can't go to work and absenteeism, it's just important for employers to be very conscious of the immigration status of their employees. If you have an employee in this situation, you need to ask yourself, what do I want to do about it? And if ICE comes, what will I do about it? You need to have a plan. You need to have an absence management system to deal with all the immigrants you have in your organization, including those that are in the U.S. legally. Because what is now happening is that if your friend was arrested yesterday and you are in the U.S. legally, you may become afraid today and you don't want to go. Or if you hear that ICE is in your street, and you want to go out as an immigrant, it doesn't matter whether you have papers or not. You are just afraid because you don't know what can happen. So the absenteeism could be driven by the fact that the person is not documented or the person is afraid. So workplace managers need to have a plan how to do that. In case that happens, who do they call? How do they get a replacement? And how do they support the employee no matter the category? Okay. There are also parents who are afraid because ICE has gone to the schools of the children, and therefore they don't want the children to go to school, and therefore they are staying home because the child is at home.
Okay, we're time pressed, and I need to get your thoughts on other aspects as well. What are the potential long-term consequences of these enforcement actions on Nigeria's economy? We've talked about the U.S., particularly in sectors heavily reliant on remittances and international trade.
Yeah, I mean, the first impact is going to be the question of remittances, like you mentioned. I mean, people are not going to work, or people are afraid that they're not going to send money home to meet healthcare needs and to meet basic needs for their members of the family. So remittance will be seriously affected. I think also affected is a question of this visa, because I feel that, because think about it, all the visa officers in various embassies are also seeing this report, and that will start to influence their discretion. As we all know, many of the visa agencies have discretion. So they think that there are 79 Nigerians listed in the list of what is called the worst of the worst. And this guy watches it yesterday night, goes to work tomorrow morning. Does he have an anger against Nigerians? Does he have an animosity against us? So it's going to affect sectors that require trips to the U.S. It's sectors where people need to go to the U.S. for exchange of knowledge, for training, for development, and things like that. Also, it's important for us to start to think about the fact that we now have many Nigerian companies, especially in the fintech space, in the IT space, and the tech space, that are registered in the U.S. We're going to start to get to that point, if we don't manage this process very well, where the manpower supply to those organizations become threatened because of the fact that people will have concerns working with them, because maybe, for example, they feel that this can happen. If we also start to have ICE agents go to some of those organizations and start to take on people, then it can start to affect the business back home. The other part of it is also the question about the mental health, because that's one part we should not forget. If people are afraid, how does it affect their health? How does it affect their mental? How does that translate to productivity, aggression, relationship, and the ability to function as human beings?
This is a very broad subject, but thank you very much for giving us some perspective.